Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Pastor Rick Yutzy from Maranatha Community Fellowship in Plain City, Ohio. Last week I was reading an article and it was looking forward 1,000 years to 3015. And it was a contest where people were giving their ideas for what skyscrapers would look like 1,000 years from now. And it caught my attention because it talked about this skyscraper called Times Squared 3015. And it was a skyscraper that was on Times Square in New York City that was a mile high. And inside this skyscraper was a redwood forest, mountain range, beach, a football stadium, movie theaters, shopping, apartments, vertical farming methods. Like basically everything you could find outside, they kind of managed a way to bring it inside so that if you live there, you could have access to all these things you love inside this tall, humongous skyscraper. And it took like 3 minutes to get from the bottom all the way up to the top, a mile high. And so there was some talk about, is this even going to be feasible to build a skyscraper a mile high? And it just got me to thinking about our future and what Revelations 21 says about our future. And this is kind of like a sneak peek into what it's going to be like when there's a new heavens and a new earth. And then listen what it says in Revelations 21. It says in verse 9, "Then came one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues and spoke to me, saying, 'Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb.' And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great high mount, and he showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, its radiance like most rare jewels, like a jasper clear as crystal." So it's starting to talk about this New Jerusalem, the city that's going to come when God creates a new heavens and a new earth. And then it goes on in verse 15 and says, "And the one who spoke with me had a measuring rod of gold to measure the city and its gates and its walls. And the city lies 4 square, its length the same as its width. And he measured the city with the rod 12,000 stadia. Its length and width and height are equal." So it's saying there comes a city. Its length, width, and height are all equal. And it's equal to 12,000 stadia, which is equivalent to 1,380 miles. So almost 1,400 miles wide, deep, and high. That is a huge city, and I got to thinking about that. We're talking about this skyscraper in Times Square that's a mile high. Man doesn't know if it's feasible. And God's saying, you know what? My city is going to be 1,400 miles high and wide and long. And it's like, that is amazing. And it says in Revelation 21:7, "But nothing unclean will ever enter it, nor anyone who does what is detestable or false, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life." Only those who believe in Jesus and love Jesus and confess Jesus and want to be with Jesus and confess Him as Lord are going to be allowed into this city in heaven, the New Jerusalem. And as I was just thinking about that, here's the bottom line. We have a great future. You could take the plans and dreams of man and multiply it by 1,000 times, because they had a skyscraper a mile high. Multiply that by 1,000. It doesn't even equal the plans that God has for us. So while it may not be feasible for man to build a skyscraper a mile high, God's going to create a city that is 1,400 miles high. And I don't think we can even begin to imagine what all's going to be in that city. But Jesus is going to be there. And hopefully you're going to be there. I'm planning on being there. You know, it could be like 1,000 years from now that we'll be living in that city that's 1,400 miles high. So I'm not a city guy. I live out in the country. I'm a rural guy. But who can't get excited about that, right? So New York City, LA, Miami, Chicago, eat your heart out. Oh, baby, we are going to have a great time when we get to heaven. And some of you are going to think this is absolutely crazy talk, but it comes straight from the Word of God. And if you can't get excited about that, there's something wrong with you, and only one person can fix that, and that's Jesus Christ. So if you don't know Him, please get to a local church and find out more about Jesus, our hope, and our future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Bottom Line.